five-star books from 5 different genres. What have I read recently that was a 5-star book, and not even all in the same category? Now, I do have reviews on all of these 5 books, so as I'm talking about them, there's going to be some cards that are going to pop up on the top. So if you want to see full reviews of these books, please go check out those dedicated reviews. Now, the first book I want to talk about is a horror book, and it's Witchcraft for Wayward Girls by Grady Hendrix. This is a story of young mothers, teenagers that got pregnant before getting married. I believe this was in the 60s or set in the 60s, so it's kind of a little bit of a historical fiction in this horror genre. And it starts with a girl that's being taken by her dad to this home somewhere in Florida where they are going to stay there during their pregnancy. Once they deliver, they put those babies for adoptions, and then they go back home to enjoy the rest of their lives like nothing ever happened. However, once they get to this house, they're stripped of every bit of identity, every decision, everything is taken away from them. And they even give them new names. They control what they eat, where they sleep, how they sleep, who they talk to, and it's really one of those worst case scenarios really for a place to be while you're pregnant. Once the girl starts to realize that they are trapped in a situation that they hate, they're being punished and they are being manipulated, and there are some gross scenes. Like one of the girls, I think she's having anemia or some kind of stuff like that, and the owner of the house or the doctor with the owner made her drink this, is it liver, some kind of smoothie? Like some of the scenes can be gross, and I think that after they started to see that they had absolute no power in their situation and how different all these girls were, where they're coming from, and their ideas that they had about being pregnant, they visit this bookmobile that comes every 2 weeks, and they get some books because that's their only entertainment. However, this one time they ask the librarian for something and they get a book that they don't understand. But once they open it back in the home, they realize that it's a book of spells. They use those spells to gain some power and to be able to make some decisions. Now you're gonna follow these characters throughout their lives. That's why it's kind of a long book. I think it's 500 pages or almost 500 pages. But if you enjoy the concept and if you can draw your own conclusions between, the power being taken from these girls and draw some parallels of what happening in today's world, you may be enjoying this book. If you're just going to read it because of the witchcraft, I don't think it's so heavy on that. I think it's a tool that he used to show how women could still fight back whatever injustices are happening in their lives. And I went into what I believe those injustices are or what it's referencing to in that review, so I would encourage you to go and check it out if you still have more questions about this book. Now, the next book is The Answer Is No by Fredrik Backman. This is contemporary fiction, humor, and it's a novella as well, so a completely different category. Fredrik Backman cannot write anything that I'm not going to read. I just devour his books. I love the way he writes his characters, and I love the way he puts together a plot so perfectly, and how there is always a message behind each one of his books, and how the message could be different from one reader to the next, that I just could not pass up this book. And I have to say that I was laughing so hard that I was spending time with one of my friends at her house, and she walked in, she's like, "What's so funny?" Like, I had the best time reading this book. Now, this is a story about a frying pan in an apartment building. I feel like Fredrik Backman loves to use buildings as a way to introduce you to many different characters that are going through the same thing. Something is happening and how it affects them all in different ways depending the kind of people that they are. Now there's this guy that is a loner and a gamer. He works from home, he gets food delivered, he seems to be very happy with that lifestyle, so he stays away from the neighbors, and he is not as crazy as where everyone is wondering what he's doing, but he's also not so weird that everyone is wondering what he's doing. Then there's also other characters, and so one day there's a frying pan that shows up by the recycling center at this building, and the board of the building decides to go door by door and ask who was the person that put it there, because it's somebody that lives in that building. And it's kind of, it has a moral of the story. The frying pan is not a frying pan, it means something different, and I explore what it meant to me at the time in a review that I did, dedicated review to this book, so you have to go check it out. But all I'm gonna say is it was a 5-star because I not only fell in love with the characters in such a short amount of time, I was able to see how he introduced social media as an element that will influence our decisions in our lives, and how we sometimes need to lose something in order to appreciate it. It's such a wonderful book with a really deep meaning, but you will laugh as you're reading this book. I think it's amazing. However, I also have to say that his writing is not for everyone. For most people it is, but you have to understand his humor, and you have to be able to detach yourself and not feel offended if you feel like you're one of those people that he's making fun of. It's all a way to kind of make fun of what society is today in the best way possible, and also it manages to leave you thinking. Now the next one is a book that hasn't been released, but I've read it quite a few months ago, and it's amazing. I really enjoy it, and it's by Alex Finley. Is The Parents' Weekend. Now this is a story of a parents' weekend at college in California. Now all the freshmen, they get this weekend where their parents come, they visit, they have a good time, they have events. It's a way to kind of show the parents how the kids are doing, where they're living, their friends, and it starts with all these different couples that are arriving. They're pretty much wealthy, but they do different things. So you're being introduced to each couple in the beginning of this book. Eventually they meet their kids, they make plans to meet at 7 for that dinner party that the school organized. The parents show up, but none of the kids do. In the beginning, they were thinking, well, they just ditched us. They went to a party, a fraternity thing. There were a lot of things going on that weekend, so they're trying to blame it on that. But soon after, they realize, after they know none of them show up the next day, that something really bad happened to them. The week prior to this parent weekend, one of the girls that was friends with this group of kids that are all freshmen, she was found drowned at the beach, and they believed that she was in one of the caves when high tide came. Now, there's a lot more to that story. I have to say that there are a few really young chapters, which is the part that the kids and the college are investigating, and that was the only part that I just didn't click too much with. But the chapters are so short that even if you're kind of getting bored of a different character, you're gonna move on and you're gonna go and see it through other couples' eyes. It also does have a lot of characters, which is my preferred kind of book because it helps me see it from different perspectives, but I know that could be something that you may not like, so I wanted to mention it. Short chapters and fast-paced, and you just don't know what really is gonna happen, and I had no idea where this book was going. The twist at the end, did not see it coming, and it comes out in May, so I can't wait to be released so more people can read it. The next one is Broken Country by Claire Leslie Hall. I have a dedicated review, of course, of this one that I just recorded, so I hope you check it out. But this is the story of Beth. there's two different timelines where Beth is in 1955, where she meets Gabe and they fall in love. It's such a sweet relationship. There are some spicy scenes, but not like super spicy. It's like, okay, they're doing something, but not oddly specific. And I just love because their relationships seem so real. Now, we fast forward to 1968, but when we go to 1968, we see Beth married to Frank and living in their family farm. And Gabe, after going out into the world and becoming a famous author, decides to come back to their family home after he got a divorce from his American wife and moved into to his family home with his son, who is, I think, about maybe 10 years old. And then we also have a different chapter where there is a trial. We know somebody died and we know somebody killed this person, but we don't know who is the person that is dead or who killed that person until almost the end of the book. So it is a romance, it is historical fiction, but it does have this mystery that if you enjoy mystery as much as I do, her writing is addicting. Her chapters are short, they leave you on a cliffhanger, and you want to eat those pages up. And the author is really withholding information from you, but is not lying to you. And the way that she did that is so smart that it keeps you guessing and coming back to this book. This is the kind of book that I believe it's written in crack format and you need to read it. Finally is A Sea of Unspoken Things by Adrienne Young, and this is one of those books that is hit or miss for some people, and I have to say that it's a slow pace. So if you don't enjoy slow paced books and a little bit more literary, maybe this is not going to be for you, but I loved the plot itself, the way that it ended, and the setting, because this is in like a wooded area in California that reminds me a lot where I live, and it's a tiny town with no cell service, no internet, and the atmosphere of this book is what really got me invested in it. And I just could not wait to figure out what happened. Now, this is a story of twins. He dies in that small town, and the sister, who is living in San Francisco and living the big city life, is going back because she knew in her heart before she was told that her brother had died. But what they're saying, the way he died, she has a feeling that's not how it happened, and she ends up going back home and she finds out things that nobody wants to find out about a loved one. You don't know if that's true because she's finding out all this information, but she doesn't have proof that it's actually what is happening, and it's painting her brother like in the worst possible way. Like, this is the kind of guy you want to keep away from women and children. However, is that the truth? Is he really what she's thinking, that he is? And maybe she missed it, although she has a feeling. And this is in the magical realism kind of world and genre, so it is kind of different, but you can take it as a deeper connection between twins, or you can take it as there's something magical in those woods that are telling her that what she's seeing is not the truth and that she needs to keep digging. I loved it. If I have to say that the vibes that this book gave me is, what is it, that show on Netflix? Something River? I'm going to put it on the screen, where she's a nurse practitioner and she's moving to this little town. And not because that's the story, but that's the town, that's how it feels like. And I just really enjoyed it. Maybe I'm in the minority, but I have to say that book was really slow, but it was so worth it. Now, anyway, I give you horror, mystery, thriller, contemporary fiction, novella, magical realism, and historical fiction. Those are the 5 stars, 5 books that were 5 stars for me recently. I would love to know what's your 5-star books. If you have 5 books that were 5-star from different genres, I would love for you to leave it in the comments down below. I'm always looking into my next 5-star read. So please share your suggestions in the comments down below. Thanks again for being here, guys, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.